one of the things that we'd like to put out is when people are moving well, and we like to show off cool things that are happening on social media. But right now I literally want to show you that I am hobbled. Like I messed myself up a little bit yesterday. Not doing anything stupid. I was actually intending to work out, and I leaned over to move the rower, and my back just like locked up. And I've got a kind of a history. This happened 2 years ago, where
right around the open.
It was right around the open, actually, like same kind of time, where my left hip just completely locked up, and it led to a whole bunch of other compensations going into the other parts of my body. And since then, I've actually become, I used to be left hip dominant, now I've become right hip dominant, and it's kind of cascaded into some other problems. So this was less than 24 hours ago that I did this. Yesterday I could barely walk. Like if you ask Britt, she's like, oh yeah, of course, like on Sunday you blow up and you can't do anything around the house. But it was true. It was hurting to stand up. I couldn't move. So I'm going to give you just a quick recap of some things I did. I did some gut smashing, because I know this psoas was just completely locked up, where I couldn't actually stand up tall because all this musculature in the front of my body was completely stuck. Jeremy did a little diagnosis of my hips to see that they were a little bit out of whack, which they most certainly were. And I also did some side planks yesterday to kind of get the obliques to fire on this left side. And then I did a couple little hip drills to get things to move a little bit. But then what he diagnosed today, and I'm still kind of moving gingerly, but like literally 1,000% better than I was yesterday, is real quickly, show the little deal where you had me try to lift my legs up. So he lays me on the ground, and so I can do it a little bit better than I would. A half hour ago, I could not lift my foot up without pain, and part of that was because he did this little drill. So he's going to step as hard as he can. You can step a little more. Now, as soon as he does that, and it forces me to engage my external obliques, and I can lift here without pain. It's pretty incredible. As soon as he lets go, I'm a little bit more consciously aware of it, but I know that that's my Achilles heel. That's where the problem is. The other thing that we were going over, so I've got a back problem, right? My back hurts. That's kind of nonsense. What's happening is this hip and this hamstring is super, super, super tight. This is not good range of motion at all. For a guy who's kind of flexible, I am totally, totally locked down. If you show me my other leg, that feels like a pretty good stretch when you get out here, but it's an extra 20 degrees.
Being able to move that is much better than this. It's like you are straight up like fighting.
That is tearing me apart. Okay, so one of the things that Jeremy was going to have me do, so I could stretch my hamstrings. I probably will. I need to work on internal rotation of this hip. So because where I've gotten messed up is when I go to hinge over. And what I did is I went to go get the rower like so. This hip doesn't have the capacity. So you want to show the lack of internal rotation that I have on this hip. So this is external rotation, and that's not good, man.
I was gonna say, do you want to go any more? Or?
That's not good. So you can see how little that moves. I'm not unrelaxed. He's telling me to relax. It doesn't want to move. So part of the issue, if you look at this hip, it goes all the way out. Okay. So if you compare the two, it's kind of getting in the way, which is causing that referral pain going into my back. So do I have a back problem? Not really. I'm just my hips. A lot of stuff that are out of whack. And so the other thing that we're going to work on here is this little, what do you call this thing?
Body tempering.
Body tempering, yeah. So that's another way of saying you just have somebody beat down on your hamstrings. So what he's doing is he's taking a foam roller, and I'm gonna go on the record, I don't particularly like foam rollers on the hamstrings because that muscle is so robust and so strong that it's hard to make any moves, make any changes, unless you have how much you weigh, like 180 pounds?
180 pounds, yep.
No, unless you have a 220-pound person jamming on that thing to get those hamstrings to move around. So this doesn't, as you can tell, I can kind of talk normally. It doesn't really hurt, but you can feel the tissue kind of moving around. And I might even kind of wiggle my foot, see if I can get some different sensations. So if you have a smash friend who can kind of get into your hamstring, oh, that was a good spot. That's a horrible spot. Feel that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you have a friend that can get into your hamstrings, that's excellent. Otherwise, I think what we might end up doing is filling a couple of these things up with concrete, allowing you to be able to do this to yourself. But I'm going to have a retest here. It's been about a minute of some good smash, and I'm going to see kind of what it feels like. So real quick, let's go here. So this drill, that's 95% pain free. Range of motion,
way better.
I mean, this is as seen on TV here.
Yeah.
Range of motion feels a lot different.
Yeah.
Just by freeing that up.
Oh my gosh, yeah, way different.
Yeah. And now I'll test my my general sense of well-being here, of just kind of hinging, getting that hip to work, flexing forward. Hit up Brittany on Instagram and ask her if she if I could do this yesterday. I could not at all. So basically what I'm trying to, the summary of all this is, you're going to mess yourself up. Like, of the people in the world that are most cognizant of how they move, I'm like, all we do is think about this. And I made a bad move yesterday. I was tight. I worked out pretty hard on Saturday. You saw it. Yep. But I didn't do anything crazy. And I got a good night's sleep on Saturday night. So I'm thinking everything's good. And I just
eat pretty dang clean.
And I eat pretty clean. I took one movement for granted. Body locks up. You can still fix yourself. Almost 24 hours into it. And hopefully with a little bit of Jeremy's help, I'll be back to normal in no time. And we'd love to be able to help you as well. Have an awesome day. We'll see you guys soon. I'm going to throw open my mouth here. So this was going to be an outtake, but it is pretty darn important. As soon as we finished filming, he's like, hey, lay it on your back. Let's try something else. And so part of the thing I was working on yesterday was smashing out my gut. We're trying to get my psoas to release, and what we're feeling here is tremendous amount of tension in my hip flexors and quads that are limiting my ability to open my hips. And when I'm not able to open my hips, my back stays in flexion, and you got to breathe your way through this kind of stuff. When your hips stay in flexion, bad things happen to your back, and a part of releasing these tissues is making sure that these tissues can open all the way up. So now we're just going through, this is kind of like a couch stretch where you put your knee in the corner of the wall and you work and open up your hips, except again, you got a gorilla with like a hammer on your quads. It's still not as bad. I don't think this is still as bad as doing it on your own.
No, not even close.
Not even close to being as bad. So if you can get a partner that'll smash your quads, I'll do a minute, you do a minute, you guys will be much better off for it. That's the final conclusion. We're not doing any other crazy stuff after this. No. Promise?
Promise.